We good? There we go. We're live. Welcome to the Deal Champs
We are
podcast.
live.
I am your co-host, Stratton Brown, aka Mr. Strat Daddy. We have Mr. Sexy, Rafael Cortez on as a special guest today. The master of hair, Jason Pritchard, is back. Captain America, Dean Rogers. He's been getting raving reviews on my reel about him being actual Captain America. Lots of positive feedback. Quick intro. My name is Stratton Brown. We own a 7-figure real estate portfolio. We have a virtual assistant company that helps small business owners and real estate investors. And my goal is to help you guys out for free. Obviously, we all have different types of coaching programs, but we want to give you guys things you can implement in your business today and go scale. Every podcast guest we have had on has helped us all make more money, which has been the best thing. It's honestly just selfish. We get to ask these people a bunch of questions, and you guys get to ask along with us. We have my other co-host, the captain of hair, Mr. Jason Pritchard.
Hair's out today, boys. I had to get ready, man. We had Rafael on, so I knew I had to do the hair today. So for everybody that doesn't know, bro. That's right, bro. I didn't want to show you up, man, but I had to bust it out today, man. So for those of you guys that don't know me, I'm your other co-host. My name is Jason Pritchard. I worked in corporate America for about 15 years, and I went full-time into real estate in 2014. I hated my job, wasn't happy with where my life was at. We burned the boats, and we started in 2014 and haven't looked back since. Since then, we've flipped and wholesaled 400 houses. I own a rental portfolio of just over 100 units based mainly here in Central California. And like Strat said, our goal with this podcast is to try to transfer as many of the things that we've learned over the years to you guys that are watching. Real estate has absolutely changed my life, and I'm really, really excited today to have Rafael on the call to share some of his knowledge with you guys.
Captain America, please give us a quick intro.
What's up, guys? Dean Rogers, your other co-host. So, guys, my story is I transitioned from the NFL to corporate to then real estate. Been investing in Central California for a decade now. Done right around 600 deals. Got a rental portfolio of almost $10 million and coaching students how to get started, create successful businesses. And you guys can always connect with me at deanrogers.com.
And then we have Mr. Sexy, Rafael Cortez. He's been a great friend and mentor to me as long as I've been in the business. He's helped me out with so many different things, mentally, structuring businesses the right way. But we're so grateful to have you, Mr. Sexy, Rafael Cortez.
I don't know if I can compete with the sexiest man alive. I mean, that was your official intro at the last event that we went through, which I think it's on point, by the way. But yeah, bro, no, we go way back, and it's been really a really fun journey throughout the process. So yeah, my name's Rafael Cortez. I'm out of Phoenix, Arizona. I own a couple of different companies on the buy and hold, wholesale, do a lot of coaching, consulting as well. So I'm excited to just bring the heat when it comes to no holdbacks. I'm pretty bad about keeping stuff to myself. So if I see something that's working, I usually share it real quick. So bring the questions. Let's go.
When you are the only person I know in our space, I showed myself kind of how to code. But the only reason I showed myself how to code is because Rafael built an entire podio by himself. Like built it out, coded it all. And so I was like, all right, if Rafael can do it, all right, I think I can do it.
I had no friends, man. I had to figure something out.
Where did you get like throwing everything out, and how was it working for like Sean Terry? I know Sean Terry is like Dino's top on the list of people who really influenced him the most at the beginning.
The OG.
Oh yeah, man, the GOAT. I feel super blessed, man. I got the opportunity so I started listening to his podcast. Actually, the first podcast that I listened to was Todd Toback. And on Todd Toback's podcast, Sean Terry popped up, I think, episode 5 or something like that. I heard he was in Maricopa County. I had just sold my business. So I built a business in non-emergency medical transportation. I did pretty well there. But I wanted to get into real estate. I wanted to get into real estate wholesaling and investments, right? I just didn't know how to get to it. And listening to the podcast, I closed 2 deals. And he sends out an email one time looking for an acquisitions guy. At this point, I'm wanting to learn, kind of sitting on my butt, trying to figure out, piecing it all together. Shout out to San Luis, my guy. There we go. That's my hometown. I always say Yuma, but it's because nobody knows San Luis. So San Luis is smaller than Yuma. So anyways, I went in with the idea of giving this guy a year and for everything I got and learning, kind of creating a win-win. I ended up saying for 3 just because the way that he operates, the opportunities that he was presenting in front of me, it really, really cut the learning curve by 10 years easy. So stand-up dude, we'd go out there, look at strategies, tactics, and come back and go to the drawing board every Monday, right? And then see what sticks, what doesn't stick, what can we do and throw out. And just, that repetitive process, man, over the span of 3 years will get you places. Absolutely. But yeah, I think it's one of the best things that I've gotten to experience in the growth process. Absolutely.
This could only be one person. Says the Deal Champs are back. If you like this show, you love America and success. Hating this show is like shoving your head up your butt, supporting a communist takeover America, and blindly allowing the pillaging of capitalism.
That's a good question for you.
Yeah, it's got to be Mr. Pat Hilton.
First guest, Pat Hilton.
For you. For Rafael Cortez, if I'm just starting, which system should I automate first? Thank you, Annie.
I'd go with lead generation. Lead generation is always going to be the lifeline. Hey, Annie, what's up? One of the things that we see, and it's not it's not a new story, right? People freak out when it comes to turning on the lead generation and the pipeline for that kind of stuff, but it's really the first thing that has to be dialed in. If you turn that off, you're going to turn off the rest of your business. It's really the foundation of everything. We think acquisitions, we think buyers list, we think dispo, marketing, and all that stuff. None of that shit matters if you don't have your lead generation dialed in. You keep that the influx coming in. So absolutely, lead gen.
First big nugget of the day, right there.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I played around with multiple vehicles, right, for lead generation. This year, so cold calling and SMS have been my core, 2 methods of real estate marketing. We do, a lot of skip tracing and look for quality in data. That's one. Believe it or not, this year we're at 54 properties that we've taken down in Maricopa County, which is a very competitive market. But these are portfolio properties through door knocking. So door knocking is not, it's not dead. It's not dead.
Wow, that's unreal.
But yeah, lead generation. Lead generation is the first by far.
All 54 came from door knocking?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah, we're doing really a lot of dude. Yeah, we're doing a lot of sub 2 stuff,
You and Sam's system is bananas, though.
Yeah.
I think Sam's system is bananas. I sat there on Saturday while you guys are ordering fucking bottle service at a bar at like some random spot. And Sam shows
I don't know what you're talking about.
Your guys' system, and it is legit like the closest thing any ever pops up, he gets it automatically from the courthouse. Oh, Sam right there.
That's
what's
Sam
going
right
on,
there.
bro? And his system's legit that way. And I think what you guys are doing, like with nationwide stuff with JVing with people,
yeah,
it's really cool too. Because then one of the dudes started with you, and I think in 2-3 weeks, he already got 2 deals.
Yeah, we have Vegas humming. He was actually also at the conference, but so we're partnering up. We're opening different markets, and we have this a very specific model that we've been able to structure and whatnot. But there is opportunity in that space, right? And we can't hog it all. So we just extend the opportunity, JV, with people across the country. Maricopa is our market. We have a couple of markets where it's our operation, and then we have a couple of markets where we're JVing with people, operators in those areas, and rolling that strategy out. But yeah. It all stems, right? Going back to that first question with that lead generation strategy. Like if you get a grip on whatever that is, whatever is working for you, everything else, becomes to just line up along the way. Opportunities, different ways of, deal structures and that sort of thing. They become possible because of your lead gen influx.
So we got another question for you here. Need advice. I have an off-market property, but can't really find comps for it. How do I go about it?
You're probably looking at a market that's probably maybe around 100,000 to 200,000 people in population, maybe less. Data can be a little bit tight. when it comes to smaller markets like that. I call them secondary markets. What we do, and we do wholesale throughout the country, right? Sometimes we come across, stuff that's out there in the middle of nowhere. So we go Zestimate. It's not going to sound sexy, right? But we use what we can when we can. So we go Zestimate, we go Redfin, whatever the estimate on Redfin is. We use a system called RPR, and that one, if you're a licensed agent, you'll probably have access to RPR. It's really good when it comes to market analysis and data and putting together trends and giving you like insight on specific markets. But it'll also have an estimated value of it. And then we also do batch leads. So we put all of those together. The first thing that we do, we actually try to run comps through batch leads. A lot of times they have comps where the other systems won't, like Zillow won't have comps, but batch leads will. So we rely on batch data for that kind of stuff. And when we can't absolutely find anything, we'll look at those four and then just, get an average. It's not going to be, laser accurate, but I mean, you work with what you have. Yeah.
I even tell people
that helps.
The same shit that you've been saying forever. If you really don't know, just cut the Zillow price in half, throw out the offer, and see what happens.
Yeah. Make the offer so that you know that you can't mess it up. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's another one for you. Any insight on how the Q4 real estate market is going to be?
That's hard to tell, right? Like I feel like anybody who's got a really strong opinion on what's going to pan out over the next quarter, the next half of the year, the next year, it's hard to tell because you don't know if something's going to hit us, like interest rate spikes, like something like that kicks in, like everything goes out, the window. We had a 3-year strategy laid out last year and we got kicked in the butt. So I mean, we take it on a monthly basis, really. We look at KPIs. How are we doing with this? In the time that's right now, right? The stuff that we're doing right now, how are we doing? I think the best strategy to quote unquote predict the stuff that's coming, it's to look at your KPIs for the last 4 weeks and then just model after that on a monthly basis. On the presentation that I did at Investor Fuel this week, and I talked about some metrics and the way that the cadence that we measure everything. It doesn't have to be that complicated, right? If you're starting out, you're looking at key performance indicators or stuff that you need to keep an eye out for in your business. You can look at reach, like how many people are you reaching out to in lead generation? What's your contact rate? How many leads are you generating? What's your conversion? How many contracts do you need to get that kind of stuff? And see the pattern. Like right now we have enough data to where we see the pattern on a yearly basis. So we know that between March and June, we usually see a dip, right? And then it starts to pick up a little bit in June, but it's a cadence that we've seen over the last 4 years, only because we track the data. And like, that's the kind of stuff that I use to plan out for the next 6 months and next quarter. What we're seeing right now is there's the price points are steadily, they're climbing. So inventory is decreasing a little bit. And I think there's some type of, to a degree, the market is stabilizing a little bit, but I mean, we don't know. It's, that's what we're counting on right now. There are certain markets, primary markets, for example, we're able to push the price point upwards. When secondary markets, we send a property out, that whole 70% minus repairs, minus all that stuff. On secondary markets where the markets are small, we're getting offers from buyers at 40%. Like that shit's not going to work. So we have to go deeper on those, I hope that makes sense.
What do you see in commercial wise? Because I know you guys have started to buy a lot of that. What are you and Sam predicting that in that direction?
So John Trotman is actually he's the commercial wizard of the three. Like he's been doing commercial for a long time. He's got buildings throughout the county and all that stuff. One of the things, believe it or not, I mean, the office space is still pretty healthy, like on the stuff that we're seeing, at least in acquisitions, and it's really it's the one strategy that keeps working over and over again. Is when somebody buys a commercial building, they'll do the bare minimum, put people in it, try to spike the rents, right? But it doesn't have a vibe to it. It doesn't have a it's not attractive to, for people to say, hey, I want to go work out of that place.
Yeah.
And one thing that, for example, that's happening in these commercial buildings is that the attract factor is there. So, throw a little bit into the design of it, throw a little bit into the lighting, try to make it a collective as opposed to this nucleus of a commercial building where everything's just, halogen lighting and boring. Like that shit doesn't sell anymore. I don't know, throw some bikes in it and like it's gonna start, spurring out interest, right? That kind of stuff works great for value add. And I feel like it's very much in alignment where everything's moving to. I mean, right now they're working. I wasn't able to be part of that deal because it started happening early last year. But they're working on a big deal in Mesa where we have big companies coming in and then leasing out entire floors because the vibe of the place is there. So if we're looking at commercial stuff, you're looking at office space and that sort of thing. It's conversions. The suites are still they're booked. Everything is rented. There's waiting lists actually for that kind of stuff here, and the X factor, really the common denominator, is really the element of design that's going in there.
That's surprising because all you hear is like office space is dead. It's a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Like out in San Francisco, people are handing back the keys on these $1 billion office spaces and everything else. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting model, right? The use comes in, it's like one of the main factors on commercial, like what is it going to be used for? We're going to convert what's the value add in it? And the acquisition, like the crazy thing about commercial is that people are a lot more open to selling stuff on terms than what we normally find in real estate, or I'm sorry, in residential. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those deals are out there. Yeah.
Got another question for you here. What KPIs do you track?
On lead gen, I track reach. So how many people is my team reaching out to? If it's a list of, if we have a dialer, like how many outbound dials went out, right? And then contacts, like how many calls actually got routed to my people, to my team, or text messages that responded. That's a contact rate. And then how many leads did we get from that? Then I also track prospects. So how many prospects did we get? And we deem a lead to be converted to a prospect based on condition, timeline, motivation, and price. So 2 out of 4 to us is a prospect, and we push it over to acquisitions. So contacts, reach, leads, prospects, and of course, how many contracts were locked and sold. So I mean, you have six or seven major KPIs that can give you a really good idea.
So you said something earlier that caught my attention, and you just, I think, confirmed it right now. You're still doing cold calling, which a lot of people are as well, but you're also doing text message. Are you still doing text message?
Yeah. Yep.
So what's your thoughts on that? Is that still a highly effective marketing strategy?
In Arizona,
it's
a boss.
Yeah, it still is. We're still getting leads on a daily from SMS. I know it's getting super strict. But it got a lot more difficult. It did get a lot more difficult with compliance, with maintenance of the SMS campaigns. I mean, literally, my marketing, and she's a VA. She's been with me forever. She's really good at setting up the marketing, the lists, the dialers, and launch control. What the SMS campaigns and all that stuff. But she's always on top of the okay, what are the red flag words? And anytime they send something out, we have like 2 DLC compliance or 10 DLC compliance. Yeah. I mean, she knows, she's all in that, and she'll jump on it like right away. So it's not a full-time job really to keep up with the campaigns, but I mean, it takes her, I don't know, a good maybe 3-4 hours a week to just make sure that everything's fine-tuned on the SMS. But yeah, those are still going out. Honestly, I think it's going to be ran out, kind of like RVM. Ringless voicemails when they were a thing. I mean, it was the best thing since sliced bread. We would send out a text message followed by a ringless voicemail, and our conversion or response rate would go to like 35%. But SMS is kind of, it's lining up to be that sort of thing as well, I feel.
So is ringless voicemail dead? You can't do it anymore?
We do it for our VIP buyers lists or our buyers list. So we do it on the buyer side. Yeah, we still do slide broadcast for ringless voicemail, but again, it's a list of people that we already have in there. They know that it's us. We're just sending them a voicemail with the deal, right? So it's part of the dispo process. I have a 21-day dispo process. Day 1, something happens with the deals. Day 2, something happens. Day 3, right? So to sell the deals, like there's a lot more legwork going into it than slapping something on an email campaign. And one of the things that happens is that RBM message, but we only use it on the buyer side. I mean, it's we have approval from them, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. Interesting time, guys. I mean, it's moving real quick.
Bro, what's the structure of your company? Because you are really an organizational psychologist, and you've helped me think about the way things should operate, to where I see everything in my head is the best way I could put it, and I kind of got that from you.
Yeah. Thanks, man. So the structure of the business, I think in lanes, right? When I'm putting something together, I think about what are the main processes of that, of that business. So, for example, I have 6 stages or 6 main processes in like most of the stuff that I build, the companies that I build, and even the companies that I consult for. I come in and I break it down into 6 different lanes. One is sourcing. So you're going to be sourcing wherever your business is coming from. The other one is going to be pre-qualifying or converting. That's going to be the next lane. The other one is acquisitions, and then you have sales, which is dispositions. Then you have measuring, which is, you're tracking. How are you tracking your KPIs? Any automations that are giving you metrics? And then the last one is improvement. It's crazy, but a lot of people know the KPIs. They won't take 30 minutes a week to go through the KPIs and see how they can improve upon the next deal. It's crazy to me. That's like mind-boggling. When if you ask somebody, when was the last improvement session you guys have or had based on your KPIs? And the response that you get usually is like, oh, no, we know the KPIs. Yeah, but how are you using those to improve it, on a regular basis? So I break things down in that fashion, right? And each one of those lanes actually has the right seats, right, on the bus, kind of, go on their lane. So your cold callers are going to be in the sourcing stage. Your lead managers are going to be in the converting stage. Your acquisition reps, obviously, on the third one. Dispo, transaction coordination are going to be on that sales stage, along with marketing for the buyer side. And then usually have your director of operations and CEO running the measuring and improvement portions of the entire thing. So I kind of flew through that, but I don't know. Does that make sense?
No, that helps out a lot, especially for someone who wanted to, let's say, build out the organization of this.
Yeah.
Need to have to actually set up, and I think you set them up in almost like consequential order, or at least delegate them that way, in my opinion. The easiest way to go about putting any model together is to reverse engineer it. So get to the end of it, the very end, where you actually got paid. I don't know, you're drinking a beer, you're sitting at the beach, and that's the end of the deal, right? You got paid, everything's in the bank. So what happened right before? And then you make a note of that. Okay, cool. We got the wire, sent. What happened right before that? Okay, we had to record. What happened right before that? We had to review the settlement statement. What happened right before that? Oh, we had to get signatures, right? So you take this reverse engineering process to it, and each one of those things, each one of those bullet points actually becomes an action that you can start delegating to your team, right? But it's the easiest way. Dude, if you're making waffles, it's the same thing. If you're making pancakes, like reverse engineer the process. Like, I'm gonna end up with pancake. Like, what happened right before that? It's the same. So it's not that complicated when you take that perspective to it, right? And really start to think sequentially. One thing that I see a lot too is that the need or the desire to jump lanes. Happens quite often, and it doesn't mean that you have to have a full-blown team to run like a business. When you understand where your roles are, where your lanes are, at first, if you're a solopreneur, you're gonna be doing all of it, right? Like, that's beyond question. We're gonna be wearing all the hats, every single one of them. But it doesn't mean that we can't understand. Okay, we're at the sourcing stage of the deal. We're at the conversion stage of the deal. As we're going through these conversations and these actions, we kind of make a mental note of where we're at. Then what happens is when you need to delegate from that kind of stuff, like the cold call, you're where to plug people into it. You know what their lanes are, what their responsibilities and accountabilities are. So
So yeah, and I guess to answer, I think I got sidetracked there, but to answer your question on the structure of my business, I have the CEO at the top. I have a director of operations who reports to the CEO, and then below, or right next to it, I have dispositions manager, acquisitions manager, and then lead manager. So I have 3 managers, and then people who report to those managers are the people in those departments. For example, transaction coordinator reports to the disposition manager. My dispo marketing reports to my disposition manager. So the people responsible for the KPIs are the managers. It's not the individual, people. Like, to me, they have to hunt them down to get the KPIs in. So me, because right now I'm filling both roles. I'm the CEO and the director of operations, but I don't want to talk to 12 people and be on them for KPIs and accountability, right? I just talk to the managers, and then they talk to their teams. So it's really an upwards reporting. Now what it does too is that you have one person that's responsible for each one of the lanes, so there's no point finger pointing as to the KPIs didn't get tracked, or this call wasn't made. At the end of the day, they have full responsibility of that lane and what's happening in that space. And what can happen when you have stuff like that is really cool, because you go to the beach and the deals close because you're out with family, you're out with friends, you're out at conferences, and the thing is still humming. So
I have a comment and then a question. I think for the people that are watching this, the way that Rafael broke all this stuff down, for everybody that's in that solopreneur seat right now, that like just hustled their way into success in this business, everything that this man just said is the difference between you being able to sit at the beach and do this, or you having to wear all of these hats, man. And it's such a insightful breakdown. And I even really liked how you said, let's just go every single step. And if you really go from like when the wire hit to when we got the recording confirmation to when we reviewed the settlement, and you just take an hour to write that out, and then you have like the entire game plan mapped out, and then you have the roadmap to delegate it. So I thought that was incredible. I also wanted to ask you, why do you think a lot of people that do find initial early success in it struggle with some of these things, like implementing them and then executing on it? Because I see a lot of people that just can't. It seems simple, like, yeah, track your KPIs and like map everything out, but so many people struggle with it.
Such a good question, man. The thing is action, right? A lot of the stuff that we have as entrepreneurs is like, we're not gonna get convinced to take action. I mean, we just wake up with action in the morning, like we're doing this, and that's what pays us. So there's a lot of people in every single industry that know how to make money, right? But we also, on the opposite side of that coin, there's also a higher need for control. There's also a higher abstinence from delegating stuff. Why? Because if shit's gonna get done, it's gonna get done right. It's gotta be me, right? So that mentality, I think, anchors us as entrepreneurs. So there's so many people out there who know how to make money, but when it comes to systemizing, actually having patience to write these things out, create the training protocols, and use the team, leverage the team, create the culture, they're like, I have no patience for that. Or you know what? I don't want to tell people what I know because they're gonna take it and run. You know what? The hell with it. If they take it and they run, I mean, fine. Okay, more power to you. Let's JV down the road, and make some money together. But I feel like that's what happens. There's a common limiting belief in the sense that if we help those around us, it's like we're taken away from ourselves, but it's really not. People, I mean, like the way that I work, I try to empower my team as much as possible, which in turn, for example, systems and processes, right? I build the structures and I know how I want the machine to look. These people, like my team, actually comes in and they'll give me parts that I'm missing. Like, oh, let's do this on this thing. And they're trained on Loom, on how to do the sequential reverse engineering and all that stuff. Why? Because I told them how to do that stuff. Now they do that, they create systems and processes, and that allows me to step back a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further, right? But I feel like it's delegating either too fast because we don't want to deal with it, or holding on to that control for too long. It's really what makes it, man. It's Tom Kroll says, hustle is a season. And I added, the not a business strategy part to it. So it's something that we have to, be conscientious about, and like really lay the foundation for the people who are coming on top, and and running this company with us. It's a vehicle, right? But I think that's why I think the need to control everything and just kind of micromanage is something that's almost like second nature to drivers and entrepreneurs, like that's the kind of people that we are.
Yeah,
it becomes a lot of self-awareness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we don't get that dopamine hit either, because I feel like we go out, do a deal, we get a hit really quick, we get money coming in, you know what I mean? And then after that, look at that. There we go.
That's my other partner.
Look at this.
You're over here. You're over here. He just took the podcast away from me. Sorry. That's what I got to deal with. Yeah.
Rafael, what's like, and I love your mindset stuff.
I'm sorry, too. Jason, you were saying something about that.
No, I was just saying, I think a lot of people don't get that instant dopamine hit. So they're used to doing something, getting a result right away, and building a system or a process or a process map, and then using that 6 months or 12 months down the road. They don't get any result from it, right now. And so they don't know how to delay gratification. But yeah, everything you said was spot on, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Talk about the mindset shift that you actually have to have in order to get to the next level. Because I think you're really good with the mindset stuff too.
Are you guys bootstrap entrepreneurs?
When I started, I was. Yeah, when I started,
when we got started.
Yeah. Like 99.9% of us. So it's interesting. Psychologically, what's happening with us when we're in that stage and we're hungry, we're living in a space of survival. Everything is survival. Everything is the next deal. Why? Because we got to make payments, we got to eat, we got to do this, we got to do that. It's really hard to think on thriving and outside the box and taking risk and that sort of thing. But we're worried about the survival stage, right? That to me, I spent a lot of years on that survival mentality. Even when I was out of it, and I was able to I got started doing better financially, and I was able to invest on myself and training and mentorships and all that stuff. My mindset was still stuck on that survival space. Thus my habits were still stuck on survival space. You know what I mean? And to me, realizing that was one of the biggest things. Like, oh shit, okay, cool. If I gotta think bigger, if I'm gonna think bigger, right? If I'm gonna take more risks, if I want to do more with what I have, what are my priorities, right? Am I prioritizing money over the quality of life and time? If I am, it's because it's a red flag that I'm on a survival stage mentally. Maybe not financially, maybe you're doing well, but those habits are still following us from previous experiences in previous years. Getting myself out of that mental grip, I think, was one of the biggest challenges for me.
How'd you do it?
Yeah. A lot of meditation, journaling, a lot of gratitude. One thing that I was horrible, and I mean horrible at, was counting the blessings, counting the wins. It's I would go like, I haven't done shit in the last 6 months. Yet, I had a bunch of deals closed, the team was growing, took vacations, and now I feel like it's one of the things that I started practicing. And I got really good about just recognizing the little wins, the little happy, joyful moments in life. And that takes me out of that survival mentality where it's all grind and hustle. It's a pretty interesting thing. But I think what it does, at a psychological level, it changes your mindset, right? At an energetical level, it's you just walk around like this positivity machine. It's people gravitate towards you in a whole different way. Totally. Conversations are struck in a whole different way. And like I feel like it's not that difficult to be aware of the stuff that we're grateful for, the stuff that we're joyful for. And I mean, that's the basis. That's the basis. From that point forward, it becomes, nuts and bolts on the business and the hours that we're putting in and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Having gratitude. That's something that we implemented into our business. Every single team meeting we have on Tuesdays, we open it up with what we're grateful for. And not only is it a personal reflection, but you also get that energy from the team too. And you're like, dang, like that's crazy that's something that you were able to think through and, reflect on. And it's always the small things. It's a little small things.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? But like we call them small things, but are they really? Like, I feel like it's the juice of life. It's the juice of life, and it's so easy to undermine all that kind of stuff. Even an afternoon, I got a free afternoon with, I'm having coffee with an old friend. Like, all right, cool. It may sound like something that's, routine, but listen, like, it's life. It's a conversation. It's something to be grateful for. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I had another question here. As a wholesaler, is it better to cold call or direct mail the list of potential deals?
It depends on whether or not you're just starting to wholesale. The reason I say that is because if you haven't had conversations, when you get that direct mail is going to be a lot more expensive, right? So you're going to spend more money than cold calling. Your reach is going to be smaller. Your leads are going to be inbound. They're going to be hotter leads. But if you're not ready for that conversation, it doesn't matter how great the lead is. I've seen people mess it up, 1,000 ways, and real quick. And it's cold calling. It's almost like the rite of passage, right? We pick up the phone, we get over that fear of having that conversation. And one of the things that I see, especially like with students joining all the time, it's I don't want to cold call. I want to do this. I want to do that, because they're pushing away that fear of rejection. They're pushing away that fear of not, understanding the structure of the conversation. But when you cold call, you learn the rebuttals, right? People will challenge you, and they'll put you in a place where you have to think about your answers, and you have to learn more about the business. So it's think of it as like a paid internship. I think it's better to cold call when you're starting off, than do direct mail or spend $10,000 on marketing campaigns and that sort of thing, because you have to be ready to negotiate those deals when the hot leads come in. Otherwise, nothing's gonna make sense. Man, I like the engagement, the interaction.
Right. Yeah, cool. You get a lot of people in there, man. I agree 100%. I think cold calling is the skill set, and it's one of those things too where people just do not want to put the reps in, and they don't want to do the dirty work, dude. And that was like, for me, my experience prior to real estate, when I was in corporate America, I was always doing outside sales. So being on a dialer and making 1,000 calls a day was like, I was used to that. So for me, it was like my biggest advantage when I got in the business. And when I give advice to people, like, I start them the same way. It's like, listen, you have to get comfortable talking to people on the phone. You have to do that first and get good at that first before you can get in person in their house. And most people want to skip that step, and they end up wasting a bunch of money doing, other different things. And they're not, like you said, they're not ready for that opportunity when it pops up. So great advice. Yeah.
I mean, thank you. It's the power of repetition. You get rejected, and it's like your skin just grows a little thicker, a little thicker with every conversation that we have. And then next thing you know, people are telling you bad stuff, mean stuff. It's like, okay, cool, just another day at the office. Yeah.
I think you dropped a nugget there that I don't think people might have caught, which is you get the active training on how to respond to these questions you're getting. And a lot of times, because it's an outbound lead source and you're calling somebody randomly, that's random to them, they're going to be maybe a little bit more standoffish, and they're going to be maybe challenging you a little bit more and pushing on you. So you have to be a little quicker on your responses. You have to be kind of prepared for that conversation. And it's completely different than an inbound lead source where they're reaching out to you. So I think that is a skill that you get, is being able to be quick on your feet, think through how you want to respond quickly, and be able to handle a lot more objections.
100%, man. It turns you into a problem solver rather than this, scripted machine. There's a few questions on the cold calling side. Let me break it down, kind of give you some of the stuff that we're doing. Cold calling can be challenging if the calls are actually not going through. One of the things, we use ready mode for cold calling. Doing pretty good there. We get 30 phone numbers per seat. They last a lot longer. You don't have to swap them out so often, and the deliverability rate is still there. So when we're tracking those KPIs, we're seeing that percentage stay high. If we see a drop from one week to the next in the percentage of deliverability, we know the numbers are getting old, right? So this one thing tells us the next. But we have 30 numbers per seat. We stay pretty compliant on the triple line dialers and that sort of thing. So it's important to stay on top of that stuff. Otherwise, like the connections are not going to happen. Get good quality data. We use batch for that, batch leads, and skip tracing. The other thing I was going to mention so some of the expected responses, right? Like we usually get around 350 to 400 calls routed over to our callers on a daily basis. And that's calls that actually made it into to the cold caller. From that, they usually have between 80 and 120 conversations a day on an 8-hour shift, right? So if you're hiring cold callers or if you're doing it yourself, that tells us that we're on the healthy limit. If we see anything outside of that or see massive drops, which we'll see, we're following the scorecard on a week by week basis. Okay, cool. Something's happening. Let's go check the numbers. Let's go check the data. That means the list expired. It's not. And sometimes the list will give you, a couple of, additional passes because you're still getting that percentage out of it. So that's kind of how we mitigate that, the cold calling, strategy over
there. One thing for people, we quit using ready mode because they don't register you with the carriers with all the new bullshit that's been going on. And Call Tools takes you through the entire A2P thing, make sure everything's registered, and our connection rate went up significantly. And then we're at about 100 phone numbers each per agent.
Nice.
Just because we can't check them for spam is the biggest thing. And we've found that boosts up the connection rate even more.
Yeah, that's one of the things that my VA, the one I was telling you about, like she handles that, the 3 to 4 hours stuff that she does on a weekly basis. I mean, it can get tasky, but yeah, I haven't used. I'll look into it. I haven't used Call Tools in a minute. It's been a while.
So I got a quick question for you around your data. So you said how important data is, and I know you're doing heavily focused on outbound marketing with cold calling and texting. Do you find in your market that you run out of data? I think that's a problem in some markets where you kind of run out of data, right? Your list is only so big. You can only call that list so many times. You can only text that list so many times. Is your market in Phoenix so big that you don't run into that problem? Or how do you work through that?
It's a really, I mean, we have 1.3 million records or something like that. And at this point I bought the entire county and skip trace it a couple of times. But it's, even if you have, a lot of data, if your market is big, there's certain things that you can look out for. For example, like you're not gonna be able to hit the entire, like if you keep buying data and data and data, I feel like a lot of it is wasted because we're not able to hit it effectively. What I mean by that is we buy 10,000 records per seat per month. So I know that do the math, right? If 400 calls, 350 to 400 calls are getting routed on a daily basis to the cold callers, we'll get them 10,000 records per seat per month, and they'll work through that list. Boom, boom, boom. The following month, we'll refresh the list and get another 10,000 records. Now, usually what happens with a list is you can run it and then let it rest for 6 months and come back to that list, and it'll pick up the hit rate again. So if it's the numbers at rest, if it's your dialer, whatever those algorithms are, not exactly how they're working out, but that's what we see because we come back 6 months later, reuse the list, and we'll get, leads out of it again. So we use 10,000 records per seat per month. And every 6 months we come back and hit it again, right? So that allows us to buy 6 months of data. And if I have 5 cold callers, I know that I need 50,000 records per month. So it's on a market of 1.4 million records, 1.3 million records, I need 300,000 records for a team of 5 cold callers. But and again, I'm tracking the KPIs. I'm tracking the lead count that comes in. So that's how we know all that stuff. Otherwise, I'd be just throwing leads and records on a monthly basis, and just spending money out the wahoo for cold callers when in reality they're not hitting all of them, right? And as soon as that effectiveness, that deliverability starts to drop, then we come in and then readjust. But usually it's what we're seeing: 10,000 records per seat per month, using the settings that we're using in ready mode and all that stuff.
But how much of your data is like predictive data? Josh and Tiff presented at Fuel. I don't know if you saw this. They said 80% of their data came from the stuff.
I heard that too.
No, that's yeah. I haven't actually messed around with that. What I do, and I opened up in multiple different multiple markets throughout the country. We're also doing Florida. We're doing a couple of other major markets. And I look for the property avatar. So I go after the. And to answer your question, I'm not doing predictive data. Maybe it's something I need to look into. But the way that we run the lists is we go after the property avatar, meaning we'll do research on whatever market I'm in. I'll look at where the most, what the average price point of the properties are. Most sales are taking place, right? You're usually able to, pinpoint it. It's happening between, 300,000 and 450,000. Okay, cool. That's my price range. Then we'll look at the type of property that's selling. Okay, it's going to be a 3-bed, 2-bath, built before 1990. And if you go to list source, you can do all kinds of research for free. Yeah. So we leverage that kind of stuff to do that kind of research, right? So I go after the property that sells the most because I know that's where the buyers are going to be at, right? And if it's a big enough market, over 500,000 in population, you're going to have, a decent amount of records. Go after the property avatar, segment that out, and then I add pain points to it. Tax default, absentee owner, pre-foreclosures, you name it, right? So we start stacking pain points on them. And that's how we go about the list building. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, that was fire. What else we got in here? But how often are you training your sales reps? Like, are you training your sales team? Because I know you have 1 or 2 people who do it. How often are you talking to them? Like, what's your cadence with them?
We do morning huddles every single day, and we do an ops meeting on Tuesdays. We jump on the huddle. What's going on and everything, and we'll touch base on the deals that are being worked from the day prior. We're not doing a lot of actual sit down an hour or 2 and then go through the sequence of closing. They're seasoned at this point, so we don't do a lot of that. What we do is we do a lot of case studies on deals that we're actually working on right now. Okay, try to pitch it like this, see if that sticks. Sometimes they're not seeing a different angle to it, and I might be able to see it and that sort of thing. So being proactive with the team all the time is like, that's important. And it doesn't take that much, man. We do 15-30 minute huddles tops in the morning, and that usually handles all that stuff. And I bring the managers in, right? So I don't bring the cold callers in, but just the managers. So acquisitions, dispo, and lead manager.
I want to take it in another direction. So you are in in a market, Arizona, where there are a lot of people and a lot of known people when it comes to social media. Like, all the big guys all the big names are in that space, right? So how do you go about navigating something like that when you've got Pace and Jamil and Cody Sperber and like all these guys investing in the backyard? What's your approach with something like that? And like, a lot of people get scared of competition, inventory's low, right? So like, how are you guys navigating markets like that when you've got a lot of other big name investors there?
The crazy thing, man, is that we don't run into each other that often. Maybe back in the day, I remember, and Brent talks about this, and so does Steve Trang. But Sean was like, he was one of the first people that started dropping a lot of money into PPC, and this is 2013, 14. So we'd be doing that. Steve Trang was also doing it. So he would like see my cards at places, and and that sort of thing. We were kind of running into each other back then. But now, it's there's I feel like people want to do business with people who they feel can come through, right? And there's a lot of really high offers and stuff that doesn't make sense that's being thrown out there. But when it comes to honestly, it's a handful. Like, there's not a lot of wholesalers who are successfully doing it. You have a lot of people that do a deal here and there, but they're not really systemized, and the cadence is not there. However, I know maybe 7 or 10 people in the valley that are doing really good, crushing it. Right. Aside from that, like, it's that hustle market. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not really an issue. So when people say competition is like, and not that I'm like, we all have room for improvement, right? I don't feel like I'm all that in a bag of chips, but like, the tenacity is there, the consistency is there. You're gonna get deals. Yeah. So anybody out there listening, if you're thinking competition, you're holding back because of that stuff, like, get that stuff out of your head.
Well, no matter what you do, there's always going to be competition. Like, no matter what and if there isn't any competition, that will last about 3 months, and then all your margins will be shrunk down, then there'll be competition. Like it's just the way business works.
Yeah, if you don't have competition, you either discover the blue ocean or you're in a really shitty industry.
Yeah.
So what type of seat do you sit in right now, Rafael? Because I think one of the things that fascinates me about you is you at least come off as a visionary. Like you're somebody who clearly, sees the big picture, knows where you're going, but you also are the integrator that can get into the weeds.
Oh, there she is. That's a real talent right there.
We got a new soccer jersey here that we got to show off. So
there we go.
Bam! Impact. That's nice. Love it.
We shut that door. So yeah, my question for you is basically just looking at where you're at right now, and I know you've worn every single hat. You've transformed over the years, but the seat you're in right now, kind of break that down for me to understand. Do you see yourself as a visionary? Do you see yourself as an integrator? Or do you see yourself as both?
I thought, it's a funny thing. I thought about that for a second because I wasn't really quite feeling it with just the visionary part. And then I'm all into systems. In the afternoon, in the morning, I'm doing visionary stuff. So, I mean, I came to terms with the architect. I feel like I can see I'm a business architect, right? In my head, that's my own self-awarded title. I think it's important, right? To and sometimes, don't get me wrong, like not all the answers are generated by one. Like it's a collective of perspectives. A lot of times what gives it. But I feel like I'm sitting in that space where I can see and create systems and processes, but I see the big picture. And I have, at this point, I mean, I've been in business for the last 20 years. I started in real estate in 2009. So I have a track record and then experience behind it. So I can conceptualize a lot of the stuff that it's not just theoretical because, I've been through it, right? So I don't know, it's a pretty interesting spot in my career, I feel right now. Because I'm able to think bigger than I used to think before. And I still get to play with putting the machine together, the nuts and bolts. So yeah, I mean, if you were to ask me, are you a visionary? Are you an integrator? I mean, I'd say I'm an architect because I don't really like to operate stuff for that long. I like to build stuff, make it work, fine tune it, come back and then go to the beach and have beer.
Well, your stuff has been automated for like 3 years.
That's my MO. Well, on the wholesale side, right? On the wholesale side, but everything else we're doing right. Yeah. Everything else, I mean, we're doing right now. I mean, I'm pretty much back on the hustle season right now. Figuring out systems and processes, especially for JV partnerships and everything we're doing on the buy and hold side. I mean, I'm building all that stuff out, and I mean, it's challenging, but it's exciting as well. So it gets me fired up, definitely.
How do you deal with shiny object syndrome? You're one of the only people I know who can run multiple well. Personally, like it's really hard to run multiple companies well and have them all like systematized, lead the teams well, make sure one of them doesn't completely flounder, all that good stuff that comes with shiny object syndrome.
Thanks for the compliment. I appreciate it. The shiny object. I mean, there's a lot of it. So it's not that I try to shut myself off to it. I really like right now, for example, I just did a video yesterday on transitioning, right? Transitioning from running everything myself. My companies were mine. There was, no partnerships, no nothing. And when you're sitting at the top of that organizational, chart and you're looking at everything, it's your self drive, right? That gets you places. But when you partner up, now you have accountability. Now I think like the need to get more focused, it's not just it becomes a responsibility. I could play around with more stuff when things were automated, but now with the partnerships and everything else that's going on, is like I got to step on my game. So it really becomes a matter of the pain versus pleasure, like the pain of just failing on the stuff that I'm putting together and stamping my name on. It's too big, man. And I see a lot of things that I want to jump into, but I prioritize the stuff that I need to focus on, right? And everything else I look at, and I learned this from a family mastermind, who not how. Who can I reach out to? Who can I empower it's already in my team? to help me out with that section, with that particular thing, as opposed to me trying to sit there and figure this whole thing out. So I'm leaning more into that. I'm really, before making any big decisions, this is something big. And actually Annie Dragunova told me about this. It's a thing that she's done, when it comes to decision making. But it's, sit with an idea for 3 days before you make any, you pull any triggers that are going to be, they're going to have a ripple effect. So sit with it for 3 days. If it still sounds like a good idea after 3 days, like, okay, cool. Now you have something else to put on your shelf or whatever. But it's not like, I have that 3-day deadline, and I use it. I use it all the time. It's like, okay, I'm going to roll out this process. Let's put it on this to-do list and sit with it for 3 days at least. See if it still sounds like a good idea afterwards. But that's it, man. I think a lot of it is just, it looks great, but process of elimination. Like, is it really? Like, does it add to the big picture and the overall, route that we're taking? Because now it's a we thing, right? It used to be just a me thing on the with no partnerships and everything, but things get dynamic changes. So yeah.
Well, tell me what partnerships has been like for you, because I don't know, have you always had a partner in the business, or has there been some and then some have come apart, but it seems like that's something you mentioned has been challenging for you in a good way to keep you on your toes. So tell me about partnerships, what that looks like.
So my first business, I didn't have a dime to kick it off. So I did get a financial partner in it. He was a silent partner. I built that out. That was a transportation business. But one thing I didn't do, I feel I didn't do right, was set the clarify. Like, there wasn't a lot of clarity in the roles that were, the way things were going to pan out, setting expectations. I ended up selling my portion of the company and stepping down, and then it did good. The company did well, and that's when I jumped into real estate, full blown. So like, I was always kind of skeptical about partnering up or doing anything, and the more I sit in these rooms. I mean, just like the rooms that we're in all the time, right, with the masterminds, and we pay for perspective, we pay for the big think, and I mean that's so important. And what I'm seeing, like, the common denominator is like, I mean, I don't know a single one of these dudes is doing it alone. So,
right.
So I got to get on,
So
to me, it's a matter of getting over my own bullshit. And like, no, I got to do it myself, because it just, it doesn't pan out that way. Especially when the perspective can be confined, right, to this is what I think can be a big thing. Then next, you start having conversations with people who are actually vested in it. They're all, they're also putting in the work. And it's like, man, this is refreshing. Like, it's the workload is less, the pie gets a lot bigger. It's just an interesting thing, but that's my experience with it. I feel like right now we're in a very good place where the strengths complement each other, in the systems and in the vision and the network and there's so many really good elements about the combination of where we're at. But when you partner up, I feel like it's, first off, you got to date him. You got to date your partner, do some JVs with whoever you're thinking about partnering with, see if that's going to pan out, right? Because if they have a shitty attitude and you don't find out until month 3 or 4, and you're already, married for the next 3 years, it's going to be rocky. But yeah, it's really a way of breaking out of that shell that we often have, right? I don't know about you guys, but to me, it's the big think was it's always been a challenge. What I mean by that is, like, thinking outside the box, thinking bigger, right? Like, if I'm thinking tens, how do I think hundreds? If I'm thinking hundreds, how do I think, millions? And we can conceptualize that stuff and write it down and have this really cool business plan that may or may not happen. But the believe factor, it's often one of the things that we need a little bit of help with. Like, the intelligence might be there, the process, but, like, do I really believe in this thing? And I feel like I'm in a space right now where there's a lot of really good things moving, pieces coming together, and more importantly, the belief that all this shit can actually go through, and it's actually going through, it's happening, it's like it's there, so it's a click. That was a very long-winded answer for the partnership.
No, thinking big is a huge thing, and proximity to successful people is what's helped me, dude. And I think as soon as I got around other people that were doing things that at that time I thought was like this huge goal, and I realized, well, shit, this person's not any smarter than I am. You know what I mean? So why am I telling myself that I can't do it? And for whatever reason, that really clicked with me. And I think proximity to high performing people that are doing the things that you want, regardless of what level you're at. Because even now we pay to put ourselves in these rooms where we want to be the small fish in the big pond, and we're constantly leveling up. And if you're struggling at the beginning, you need to start doing that at just a smaller scale. And that's the thing that I think opened a lot of doors and helped me think a lot bigger.
And it's interesting, man. And the people actually doing it, right? Like we see this all the time too, is they're willing to share. They're very willing to just contribute, pay it forward, help out, like find a way to get a seat at the table, whatever table you want to sit at, right? Like what's your X factor? What's your value? Find a way to, exploit that and put yourself at the tables that you want to have, some buy-in in. And that's important because I don't think we, it's really how to make it, they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go and, with a group, with a team. And I mean, I'm finding that to be very, very, very true.
But you said it about partners. When it comes to exploring a partnership, dating first. That was for me the same thing I did with my partner. I think it just naturally happened. I didn't put a lot of thought into it because I was so new. I was so, big-eyed and just like wanting to do deals. But we naturally just dated each other for a year and a half before we actually formed an actual LLC together. And I'm glad we did it that way. It allowed us to figure things out. And we actually lost money within that first year and had major setbacks and got to work through that
and that's
together.
Really where it comes out. That's really
hey, you know what? We can overcome this. We're actually pretty damn good partners. So there's that. And I think you said something that I believe in too, is with a partnership, it's not just 1 + 1. If you find the right partner, it becomes 1 + 1 = 3. Like you get this exponential effect of it because it challenges you, it pushes you, it levels, you guys both skill up together. And that's something that I love about partnerships.
Last thing, bro, why'd you start going into commercial and how did you start doing it? Because I know a lot of people will get to a certain point, and I think when people in real estate, everybody thinks scaling up is making some massive wholesale operation, where it may not be that. It may be, I'm starting to transition to buying apartments or buying commercial. Our wholesale business still runs. It's just not doing hundreds and hundreds of deals a year, right? So, like, how did you start in that transition and all that other good stuff?
So I've wholesaled, plenty of commercial deals in the past, right? But I feel like I was on that single mind track. Did I say it wrong? I did. Anyways, like I had this one idea. Okay, if I see a commercial building, I'm gonna wholesale it. I'm gonna do this and that, and then move on to the next deal. But the understanding that I'm getting again from being around these people who are doing a lot more stuff. I mean, the building that I'm standing in, it's a warehouse building, 5,000 square feet, belongs to my partner. So it's got it on creative financing terms. It's actually pretty interesting how the whole thing just kind of got together. But he's able to see a lot of things that I hadn't realized that you could see in commercial, right? Because the asset is different. So it wasn't. I was always curious. I wanted to be a commercial real estate agent. When I got my license and became a broker and all that stuff. Then I thought about it. It's like, no, I mean, the money is and actually owning the assets, and I paying attention to what other people are doing in the space and trying to get a seat at the table is really what does it. Right now we're looking for opportunities and conversion and again, like my experience in the commercial space is not as big as my partners. However, collectively, like we have the experience of somebody who's done 1,200 deals in wholesale, and then somebody who's doing commercial stuff, somebody who's got a lot of deals in buy and hold. So it's I mean, it really, your brain gets bigger if you pick the right partnership. But that's really kind of what steered me in that direction, right? And it's impossible to not really think about the possibilities once you're in that, like you're in that mindset. because you're thinking, okay, cool. What about the commercial building? And then, oh, what about that other market with commercial buildings? Oh, what about, opening up a couple of commercial buildings and then doing value add to these commercial buildings, there's, other places, right? What is that going to look like? What about a property management company? So, things like that start kind of gravitating because you're in the middle of all that action, I feel. But that's how it came about. So it wasn't an original idea by any means. It was like, oh shit, okay, that works and it looks really interesting. Let's go learn some more.
Well, I love it. Jason, Dean, you guys have anything else, dude?
No, dude, it's been very insightful. Even I learned a ton just listening to Rafael, dude. Yeah. I love doing these pods because we always pick some. There's a selfish component where it's just like listening to the people that come on. I always am listening for one or two nuggets. I was writing like mental notes on the cold calling things that you're talking about and just some of the other things with processes because we're building that out. And I have a team meeting with my team tomorrow, and it's like, okay, we're going to talk about this and we're going to talk about this. And it was good. It was great, man. We appreciate you having coming on.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. We got to do a podcast. I've had Dean and Strat of mine.
You let me know, bro. I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready, brother.
Yeah, and I totally get what you mean, man. Like it's a hack to knowledge. Really, if you have a podcast, you sit down with people, pick their brain. I had Gina Wickman on my podcast, man. Like I was starstruck.
Crazy. Yeah, that's dope.
Yep,
that's dope.
Yeah, crazy. Awesome.
Well, hell yeah, Rafael. What parting words do you have, and where can people find you?
People can find me. I'm pretty active on social media at Rafael CEO. And YouTube. I drop a lot of videos on wholesaling, mindset, entrepreneurship, and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess partying, it's I'll revert back to a quote, and I think like my life is run by this quote, but it's by Paulo Coelho, and it's I refuse to walk carefully through life only to arrive safely at my death. Take some risks. Take some risks. Life's too short, guys. Like it's get excited about the stuff that you're doing, live a little, and do it with cool people that enjoy being around, and life is gonna take you in the most interesting directions, I feel.
But hell yeah, that was an awesome quote. That's my favorite.
That was good. I love it.
I like that.
That was really good.
All right, guys, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We do have a meetup. What is it? Next Tuesday?
Tuesday, Fresno.
Next Tuesday. But if you are on YouTube or podcast app, go hit that like and subscribe button over there. Go give us a 5-star review. Don't forget to follow Rafael on Instagram and YouTube. And then next Tuesday at 6 at Sequoia Brewing Company in downtown Fresno, we have another amazing meetup of some of the top agents in the Central Valley and one really big agent out of LA of how they've transitioned into investing into real estate as well. Hell yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Heck yeah.
We'll see you guys all next
week.
Thank
you, boys.
Thanks for coming, brother. Thank you.